Ohai. Astrakhan, the city in Russia, the administrative center of the Astrakhan region. The oldest economic and cultural center of Lower Volga area and Prikaspia. Enters the list of the historic towns of Russia. The city of Astrakhan forms the city district. Center of the Astrakhan city agglomeration. Is located in the top part of the delta of the Volga River, on the 11 islands of Caspian Depression. The distance to Moscow on the highway makes 1400 km. The city is divided into 4 administrative regions. Kirovsky, Soviet, Lenin and Trasovsky. Population. People. 2021. Area. 208.70 km. Representatives more than 200 nationalities, 19 faiths live in Astrakhan, 170 societies of national cultures work. About origin of the name of the city there is a set of legendary and semi-legendary versions. Widespread in the past 2 opinions on the subject, as if the name of the city come from a Slavic, Astrakhan, a cutter from the Scythian words, expert, the voivoden. These versions were disproved still by 5. N. Tatishchev. The version which was in every possible way propagandized during Ivan the Terrible's era about identity of names of Tmutarikhan and Astrakhan who appeared to please 2 political interests with the purpose to prove claims of Moscow on the ancient regent Mutarikansky lands is so insolvent. Repeatedly this version appeared in amateur works of the Astrakhan local historian M. Kononenko in the 1990s. Kononenko explained the name Astorixink as Marqueside. End of the first. But it doesn't maintain any criticism as the author for justification invented the certain Astorikansky principality or the kingdom existing even before arrival of Mongols to the Volga region and to Potany. The kingdom to Don. Tatamishas have a legend that they had the governor Dashed Khan which had sons Aster Khan and Kasim Han. In this legend the attempt to explain origin of names of the cities Dashed, Astrakhan and Kasimov is obviously visible. The legend which is the most extended among residents of Astrakhan is the legend about somebody the Khan by the name of Astra ruling here in far times or about the daughter his Astra in honor of which the city was called. The legend has obviously late Russian-speaking origin. In scientific community the question was never raised of its plausibility. There are also controversial theories which connect the name of the city with the tribe of experts which was allegedly wandering here in the Middle Ages and with the Tarkhani diploma received by experts from the Khan of the Golden Horde. However, of any tribe of experts in the neighborhood of Astrakhan from historical or archaeological sources scientists don't know. Historical famous experts are Yasa or Alana of the North Caucasus or Podonia, and they are mentioned in a context of Lower Volga area only once, in traveling notes of Guillaume Rubruck as Samarkand residents in the pre-Mongolian time. Archaeological Alana on the Lower Volga in the Middle Ages are still not identified. There was a version of origin of a toponym Astrakhan from Turkic the expert, a bottom lower, Aranazra below, and the cockroach located staying who is from a Torres to stand stay. Astrakhan in the lower reach located lower. Data on the city of the Turkish traveler and the writer Evliya Çelebi, who kept one more legend of origin of the name of the city till our time, belong to 1666. He calls Astrakhan, as well as other travelers and writers of the Turkish and Crimean origin, Astrakhan, and writes that earlier in the neighborhood of the city the spiteful dragon, an Astrak. The character, widespread in Turkic folklore, against whom the Chicit one and I exempted residents from a misfortune lived. The city founded on the place of death of a dragon is decided to be called in honor of a dragon, Astrakhan. Draconian. The Astrakhan ethnographer A. 5. Sazonov noted an interesting parallel of this legend with a legend of Zalanta, a snake. Dragon. A symbol of Kazan. The earliest mention of the city is at the Arab traveler Ibn Battuta, who visited Haji Tarkhan in 1334. He wrote, Tarkhan means at them. At Tatars. The place withdrawn from taxes. This city received the name from Turkic Hajj, pilgrim, one of Blagacastavates who appeared in this place. The Sultan gave him this place duty-free, and it became the village. Then it increased and became the city. This version of origin of the name was retold by 5. and Tatishchevan S.G. Gamilan, having heard it from the Astrakhan Tatars. This version and later in historical notes of the 19th century meets being written down according to local religious Muslim authorities. In modern historical science, this version is considered only reasonable as there is a material certificate. A large number of Zaladudardinsky coins of the 14th, 15th centuries found both in the territory of the ancient settlement the Cherny Hillik and on other Zaladudardinsky ancient settlements on which the place of stamping the city of Haji Tarkhan is accurately read. Different travelers and ambassadors obliged the name of this Zaladudardinsky city differently, as spoke different languages and adapted them for unfamiliar sounding. For this reason of the name of Haji Tarkhan, the expert Tarkhan, Saitrakan, Turkan, Dastarkhan, Ashtarhan, Kaya Tarkhan, Kintrakan, Adzidarkhan, Adi Ashtarkhan, Astorgan, etc. All these names of the same city. The leading role in distortion of the name of Haji Tarkhan. Emergence at the beginning of the 16th century of Crimean and Ottoman option with initial and Astrakhan and transformation in Astrakhan was played by laws of transition of sounds in Turkic languages. Hagi Odzi Azi Rizona, the expert. And transliterations of Turkic sounding of the name of the city when writing by his Latin letters on medieval cards, porcelain, and at repeated reading. It is supposed that the city arose approximately in the second half of the 13th century. M.G. Safagaliev believed that his basis occurred when the ruling clique of the Golden Horde accepted new religion, Islam, and the Muslim clergy began to receive various privileges from khans. In any case, Guillaume de Rubrac, who passed through the delta of Volga in 1254, mentions existence on the west bank of the Itilia River of the settlement which served as a winter rate to the Sunbat, Satak, in whom according to the order of the Khan constructed church. According to the conventional point of view, the first mention of Haji Tarkhan in written sources meets in notes of the Arab traveler Ibn Battuta, who visited this city together with the Uzbek Khan in 1333. Medieval cards place Haji Tarkhan on the west bank of Volga, is slightly higher than the center of present Astrakhan. Today the remains of the city are archaeological fixed on the ancient settlement the Cherny Hillock. Being on crossing of tradeways, the city quickly became the center of trade of the Golden Horde. In the 13th-14th centuries the east, the west was Haji Tarkhan in large knot of transit trade on a caravan track. Caravans with east goods arrived from the shed here and went further in two directions. On the south, to the Circassian steppes, through the Derbent Pass to Transcaucasia, and on the west, in Ozak, where they were waited by the Venetian and Genoa merchants. Yusuf Otoboboro especially notes that all spices and silk came in the 14th century to Ozak and the Italian trade colony which was here through Haji Tarkhan. Astrakhan was built from the burned and adobe brick. Judging by materials of excavation, in it potter's production, metalworking and jewelry craft were developed. Here what was written by Muhammad ibn Battuta in 1333. We went to away with the Sultan and with a rate and arrived to the city of Haji Tarkhan. Astrakhan. It is one of the best cities, with big markets, constructed on the Ital River, which one of the big rivers of the world. The Sultan remains here until the icy cold amplifies and this river freezes. Also the waters connected to her freeze. Then he orders two residents of this region to bring several thousands of carts of straw which they put on the ice which rallied on the river. On this river and the waters connected to it go in bullock carts by distance of 3 days of travelling. Often on her there pass caravans, despite the end of a winter icy cold, but at the same time sink and perish. In the winter of 1395 Timur's troops began to approach the city. In chronicles it is noted that the population for protection of the city from Volga from pieces of thick ice built a considerable wall. However, Haji Tarkhan's authorities decided to hand over him without fight. Timur gave the city to troops on plunder, then set fire to him and destroyed. Then Haji Tarkhan, according to the Venetian diplomat and the traveler Jehoshaphat Barbaro, represented almost destroyed the small town. The city was built again up and with formation of the Astrakhan Khanate in 1459 became his capital. The Venetian Ambrogio Contarini, who visited the 15th century Haji Tarkhan, writes about obvious traces of decline of the city. Houses aren't enough there, and the pie is walled, but the city is protected by a low stone wall. It is visible that quite recently in it still there were good buildings. Further he writes, the city of Astrakhan belongs to 3 brothers. They are sons of the brother of the chief Khan, Ahmad, ruling now Tatars who live in steppes of Circassia and near Tana. In the summer because of a heat they leave to borders of Russia in search of a cool and a grass. In the winter these 3 brothers spend several months in Astrakhan, but in the summer they arrive as well as other Tatars. The city of Afanasy Nikitin, who mentioned him in the travelling notes of Hashanai for 3 Seas, visited about 1469. In the first half of the 16th century Astrakhan, owing to the successful geographical location, begins to draw attention of Turkey, the Crimean Khanate, the Nogai Horde, and is a peculiar apple of discord between them. By 1533 the so-called Russian Party, which is actively bribed by the Moscow government and serving by the conductor of his influence, was formed at court of the Khan. As a result, in 1533 the Astrakhan Khanate signed with the Moscow state the trade and political contract on the union and mutual aid. Further, from 1537 to 1552 Khans replaced each other 4 times. In 1552 the Khan Yamberchi comes to the power in the Astrakhan Khanate hostile to Russia. Meanwhile, the Tsar Abdul Rahman died in Astrakhan and elected Yamberchi to his place. From Morzaya, the country lying at the Caspian Sea. Having learned about that, the Grand Duke Ivan Vasilievich sent a man of science, by the name of Sebastian there, it is from Wallachia, with gifts to Yamberchi and to approve him in imperial advantage. With the remembered ambassador who arrived there managed very badly, with snares expelled from Astrakhan. Having heard about that, Ivan Vasilievich strongly was angry and swore, before there comes the winter, to the basis to destroy Astrakhan, and wanted to render nobody favor any more and swore to exterminate all a sword. Having immediately called for itself the cruel hero, and the ruthless soldier who long time was an ataman of many Cossacks in the great steppe and dervish. To him was nicknamed, and the Tsar enjoined to prepare all for attack on Astrakhan, which assignment Dervish executed zealously and, having hasty brought together strong army, performed with him in a campaign. It's overthrow the Tsar Ivan the Terrible sent in a campaign to Astrakhan 30,000 Sagittariuses by galleys headed by the Prince Yuri Pronsky, which after the small skirmish in 1554 occupied the city. Astrakhan was very strengthened by the nature, populous and supplied with weapon. Several days later she took by storm. All men and women were exterminated by a sword, as well children, and there was this gain on the 3rd of July on Old Style in 1554. And so it without any mercy was razed to the ground. On the Khanate put the Dervishalia, who was overthrown before by Yamberchi and who swore fidelity to Moscow. However, the Dervishalia, having entered into alliance with Crimans, I killed Promoskovsky of the adjusted people in the environment, and then I attacked the Russian group. Then Ivan the Terrible in the spring of 1556 sent soldiers of people to a campaign again. This time the Khanate was liquidated, his territory was included in structure of Russia, all population took the oath to the Russian Tsar on fidelity. So the whole era in the history of the city ended. Astrakhan in the 1630th. From the Book of a Travel of A. Illyria. The edition of the beginning of the 18th century. Ivan Sharamisinov became the first voivode of the Russian Astrakhan. In 1558 in the city construction of wooden fortress under the leadership of I.G. Virodkov began. In 1636 Adam O'Leary found a holiday of foundation of the city which locals solemnly celebrated on August 1 in the city. O'Leary's certificate means that in this holiday 1558. In 2 weeks after Virodkov's arrival, which left on acquaintance with the area and a marking of the plan of future fortress on the earth, the rank of laying of the city took place. In the summer of 1559, returning from Bukhara, Anthony Jenkinson found Astrakhan already standing, on the island, on the high coast with the lock in the city enclosed with an earth shaft and wooden walls. In 1582 instead of wooden, the stone walls with 8 big and small towers which became a basis of the Astrakhan Kremlin were built. His city in ordinary opinion gained value of key point on the Volga Way, a stronghold and the observation post among the uneasy nomadic population. However, the forgotten initial purpose of the Russian Astrakhan, founded in 1558 as a strong point for war with the Crimea, resolutely changed this representation. Such function, undoubtedly, defined other than it was represented still, a rank of the Astrakhan fortress, its scale, structure, the nature of strengthenings, other level of the master-putting fortress. The Russian Astrakhan became for the Moscow kingdom not only a powerful military outpost in the southeast, but also main trade gate to Asia. And the walls of wooden fortress in her first decade came from other Russian cities every summer, up to 500 vessels big and small, behind natural wealth of the Lower Volga and Prikaspia, mineral salt and sturgeons. So in 1580 the first mention of Kostany Dvor appeared. There to Ezekiel the Persian merchant's ordinary stop with the goods. In 1569 Astrakhan sustained a 10-day siege the Turkish Tatar army. During the distemper in 1611 Falstatree IV, who got a nickname the Astrakhan thief, appeared in the city. In the city Marina Manishek disappeared from prosecution by the Russian authorities. In 1670, during a city siege, the risen Cossacks inhabitants led in the city of Stenka Razin, which arranged slaughter, having killed, including the local voivode Przerovsky I and his family. In a year the imperial voivode besieged fortress, residents of Astrakhan handed over the last stronghold of a popular uprising. Revolt. In 2.5 months. Epidemic of plague of 1692 claimed the lives more than 10,000 people from 16,000 residents. According to the encyclopedia by Brockhaus. Intensive colonization of the Astrakhan region by Russians began with the 18th century. Peter I's decree of November 22, 1717 formed the Astrakhan province, which was approximately coinciding with modern borders of the Volga Federal District. Astrakhan received the status of the provincial city before Astrakhan officially was considered as fortress. In the next years the territory of the Astrakhan province changed according to change of borders of provinces of the Russian Empire. The Astrakhan region found modern borders on December 27, 1943, when it was allocated from structure of the Stalingrad region. In 1740-1745, on an initiative and under the leadership of 5M. Tatishchev, the Astrakhan Kremlin, strengthenings around the city were considerably strengthened, shipyards are equipped. By 1738 in the city the convent at Annunciation Church, which, in turn, was constructed in 1699 at the former Voznesensky monastery, functioned. In 1767, according to the petition of the Bishop Methody, he was enlisted, according to states of Skolyarizationy reform of 1764, in the third class of monasteries, though it had to be abolished. At the end of the 19th century at Aten there was a monastic school. In 1897, according to a census in the city, there lived people specified by the native language. Russian -86563 people, Tatar -15355 people, Armenian -4038 people, Jewish -2115 people, German -1573 people. According to 1900, in Astrakhan 122,000 inhabitants were registered. The October Revolution of 1917 led to 2-week street fights in the city in January 1918, as a result of which Bolsheviks broke strength of anti-Bolsheviki of the adjusted Cossacks and established the power of councils. In the summer-fall of 1919, on approaches to Astrakhan, heavy fighting of civil war ran high. In November of the same year, the Red Army passed to offensive operations against White Guards. From 1920 to 1928, the city was the capital of the Kalmyk Autonomous Region. In the summer of 1942, Hitlerite troops approached Astrakhan on distance of 100-150 km. The continuous front line didn't exist. In the Kalmyk steppe, maneuverable war was waged. Luftwaffe bombed river crafts on Volga. Several bombs fell to the city. The city during war was the important transit point of fuels and lubricants from the Caucasus and the western Precaspia on the way to the central Russia. Many hospitals were concentrated. From May 1928 to January 1934, Astrakhan administratively was a part of the Lower Volga region, then in Lower Volga regions with the center in the city of Saratov, since 1934, structure of the Stalingrad region, and then Stalingrad region. The Astrakhan region found modern borders on December 27, 1943, when it was allocated from structure Stalingrad. From now on, Astrakhan, the administrative center of the Astrakhan region. In 1950, the 1960th years, there took place reconstruction of the city. A new master plan of development and reconstruction, according to which new parks were broken, was approved. The areas are created, Volga embankment is reconstructed, and the Astrakhan Kremlin is restored. New inhabited residential districts and another are built. In October 2008, Astrakhan celebrated 450-year anniversary. In 2007, streetcar service is closed. In 2017, the trolleybus movement is closed. For 2020, there were 4 bus routes. Astrakhan is located in the southeast of the East European Plain, in Caspian Depression, in a zone of semi-deserts. Coordinates of the center: 46 AN 48 AEL of PAO. Being located on 11 islands, the city was stretched on the coast of Volga more than on 45 km. A relief plainly flat, with separate small hillocks with a relative height of 515 m. Downtown height above sea level is 23 m. The climate is moderate, continental with big annual and summer daily amplitudes of air temperature, a low rainfall and big evaporability of water. East, southeast and northeast winds are characteristic of the city. From April to August, hot dry winds are observed. Such type of climate is explained by a geographical location of the city in a zone of semi-deserts. In a year there are on average 213 sunny days. The day length in Astrakhan changes of 8 hours 36 minutes on December 22 till 15 hours 48 minutes on June 22. Annual rainfall 234 m. On an amount of precipitation, Astrakhan is the largest droughty city of Europe. Certain enthusiasts, residents of Astrakhan, began to make the first observations of weather since 1745. In 1888, at the Astrakhan Real School, the meteorological station was open. In 1934, the Astrakhan Office of Agrodromitzva, which after a number of reorganization was transformed in 1987 to the Astrakhan Center for Hydrometeorology and Monitoring of the Environment, is created. The most high temperature noted in Astrakhan for the entire period of observations, +41.0 in C, and the lowest, minus 33.6 in C. Astrakhan is in our zone Mach +1. Shift of the applied time concerning Utes is +400. According to the applied time and geographical longitude, average solar midday in Astrakhan comes at 12:48. The population of Astrakhan on areas in percent on censuses of 2010, the I part. For January 1, 2021 on population, the city was in the 34th place from 1116 cities of the Russian Federation. Representatives more than 173 nationalities live in Astrakhan, 14 religious faiths peacefully adjoin, 17 societies of national cultures, 155 public associations function. Astrakhan is divided into 4 areas. 1 Kurovsky, 2 Soviet, 3 Lenin, 4 Trasovsky. The government in the city is carried out on the basis of the charter which was adopted by the decision of City Duma of the Municipal Unit, City of Astrakhan, of March 31, 2016. 24. The Vertreter of the city is the head of the municipality, the city of Astrakhan, elected by the citizens of the Russian Federation who are living in the territory of Astrakhan and having, according to the federal law, active voting rights on the basis of general equal and direct suffragette ballot for the term of 5 years. From December 20, 2011 to November 22, 2013, the mayor was Mikhail Nikolaevich Stolyarov. Due to Stolyarov's arrest after suspicion of taking a bribe of especially large size, the acting as the head of administration of Astrakhan since November 15, 2013 was the chief of legal department of administration of Astrakhan, the deputy mayor on legal support Irina Yurevna Igorova. Following the results of elections of the mayor from February 18, 2015 to October 5, 2015, Semyonova Elena Ivanovna, holding before a post of the chairman of city council, was the mayor. On March 12, 2015 till October 5, 2018, Oleg Anatolievich was elected deputies of the Astrakhan City Council to a position of the head of administration. City manager of Astrakhan of Semimordvins, after November 16, 2018 till February 25, 2020, the position was headed by Radik Leonardovich Harasov. From February 26, 2020 to February 28, 2020, the position of the acting head of administration was held by Elvira Rodinovna Muratkanova. Since March 3, 2020, on September 29, 2020, officially the position was held by Maria Nikolaevna Permyakova. Alyona Gabanova, the candidate from the party United Russia, was the head of Astrakhan from October 5, 2015 to September 30, 2020. On September 30, 2020, at the first meeting of new convocation of City Duma of Astrakhan, in the presence of the governor Igor Babushkin, the next 5 years unanimously. 35 voices. Maria Nikolaevna Permyakova was elected the head of Astrakhan. Executive power in the city carries out the executive bodies of local government, making the system of executive bodies of local government of the city administration of Astrakhan, headed by the mayor. The legislature in the city is carried out by the city council, consisting of 35 deputies elected by residents on 35 single-candidate constituencies in one tour for a period of 5 years. In 2010 it is created City Council of the 5th Convocation, at which there are 4 fractions. United Russia, 24 places. Just Russia, Kirop, and Drieer. Through the organization and control of budget implementation of the city, and also for control of observance of an order of management and the order of the property which is in municipal property, the control audit chamber of the city of Astrakhan is created. In the city are located consulates, Iran, Consulate General of the Islamic Republic of Iran in Astrakhan, Admiralty Sky Street, Kazakhstan, Consulate of the Republic of Kazakhstan in Astrakhan, First Arshansky Street, 17, Turkmenistan, Consulate of Turkmenistan in Astrakhan, First Arshansky Street, 11. Since 2006 the city is a member of the Eurasian Regional Office of the World Organization, Integrated Cities and Local Authorities. The importance of the fact. The World Organization, Integrated Cities and Local Authorities, WOGAF, created in 2004 with assistance of the Union, unites more than 1,000 cities and associations of the world from 136 countries. In 2014 in Astrakhan there took place the 4 Caspian Summit, where the main paragraphs of future Convention on Legal Status of the Caspian Sea were coordinated. The leading place is taken by the fuel and energy complex presented to NL's Lukoil Nezhnevodtov, which conducts development of fields in the northern part of the Caspian Sea, and NL's Gazprom Dobыча Astrakhan, which develops the Aksarayski gas condensate field. Condensate natural gas production and also extraction of sulfur from hydrogen sulfide is carried out approximately in 60 kilometers from Astrakhan. In Soviet period the enterprises of the fish processing industry were developed, but in connection with reduction of catches there is a reduction in production. Fruit and vegetable plants increase production. The enterprises of the food industry produce more than 13% of total production. Main enterprises of the food industry: Jest plant of bakery products, NL's meat processing plant Astrakhansky, cannery of Pikonta group of companies, NL Sastserprom, Karen confectionery. The machine building complex reflects position of Astrakhan as seaport. From 15 shipbuilding plants the largest are Jest shipbuilding and ship repair plant of Lenin. Jest Gaspel Personal. The shipbuilding and ship repair plant of A.P. Guzman, which is included into Logistic Investment Group Safanat. In the city there is the Astrakhan Teplavoormeny plant, the Astrakhan TERS, repairing 10 series locomotives, construction of production base of the Schlumberger company, engaged in production and equipment maintenance for oil production is conducted. Enterprises of chemical industry: Astrakhan Fiberglass, Astrakhan Steklo, Astrakhan Plant of Rubber Technical Products, Astrakhan Factory of a Container and Packing, Ballast Saw Pipelines. The main power producer in the region is the Lukoil Astrakhan company. His share in generation in the city makes about 80%. Energy is developed by 3 power plants: CHEP-2, JU-235, JU-110. Need of the Astrakhan region for the electric power due to own production is provided for 86%. Astrakhan Airport of B.M. Kastadiev. Former Narimanovo. Regular daily flights to Moscow are made by Aeroflot Airlines, Russia, Victory, and S Airlines. Also there are international flights to Aktau, Kazakhstan, Antalya, Turkey, Bishkek, Kyrgyzstan, Baku, Azerbaijan, Khujand, Tajikistan. As of August 2021. In 16 came to the northwest of the airport Astrakhan is military airfield Volga. From 1963 to 1979 it was the main airport of Astrakhan. To the southeast from the city of Astrakhan there are two sports airfields Osipnabugar and 3 channels. Railway station of the station Astrakhan of the I-Volga Railroad. The railroad came to Astrakhan in 1909. In 1990, 1998 and since 2002 electric trains work at the Kutam line, Aksarayskaya-1 and Kutam, Aksarayskaya-2. Bus station and 8 bus stations. From the central bus station which is located at Provoxelnaya Square buses go to Rostov-on-Don, Taganrog, Krasnodar, Simferopol, Sevastopol, Stavropol, Volgograd, Vladikavkaz, Nalchik, Cherkessk, Pyatigorsk, Alista, Voronezh, Kazan, a number of the cities and settlements of the Black Sea coast of the Caucasus and also to Kazakhstan, Atara, and Azerbaijan, Baku. Public transport. 4 routes of buses of big and average capacity, about 100 routes of buses of small and especially small capacity. Till November 1, 2017 several routes of the Astrakhan trolleybus worked. Work of the enterprise was stopped by the decision of administration. Thus within 10 years Astrakhan completely lost the city electric transport. Till July 25, 2007 in Astrakhan the tram worked. Seaport Astrakhan. In city boundaries of Astrakhan more than 20 sea terminals work. The NLSPG Strelitsy terminal port, length of a quay is 310 meters, the maximum draft of vessels is 4.2 m. Zesk Armada Freight Company, length of a quay is 175 meters, the maximum draft of vessels is 4.5 m. Zesk Astrakhan Port, the largest stevedoring company in Astrakhan. Cargo moorings with a total length of 690 meters, the maximum draft of vessels are 4.8 m. Today is a part of Logichiki Investment Group Safanet. An Elsiak terminal, length of a quay is 150 meters, the maximum draft of vessels is 4.5 m. An Elskafiki Beluga terminal, length of a quay is 90 meters, the maximum draft of vessels is 4 m. Share taxis. 80 city routes and set suburban. Water transport. A local route across Volga by river, Moscow, motor ships. In Astrakhan 5 theaters work. Astrakhan State Musical Theatre, Astrakhan State Puppet Theatre, Astrakhan State Theatre for Young Audience, Astrakhan Drama Theatre. The Astrakhan State Opera and Ballet Theatre is open on October 27, 2011. It is constructed on the place of the Park of Lenin. Since 2012, the theatrical park. The building of theatre is one of the largest theatrical buildings of Europe. Astrakhan State Joint Historical and Architectural Memorial Estate. In the city, the Philharmonic Hall, circus work. The Regional Methodical Center of National Culture actively participates in the organization of cultural life of the city. Under the auspices of OMSMC there take place various cultural events, exhibitions, musical and film festivals. Since 1837 in the city the Museum of Local Lore, and since 1918 art gallery works. Also there are a memorial estate, Regional Scientific Library of N.K. Krupskaya, Children's Library, Junior Library, Library for Blind People, the Center of Culture and Art, House Museum Sturgeon, the Museum of History of the City, Museum of Military Glory, the Museum of Culture of Astrakhan, B.M. Kustodiev's House Museum, Velimir Klebnikov's House Museum. In 2008 in the city there took place the 8th Federal National Holiday Sabanchi. The territory of Astrakhan is crossed by the sleeves and channels departing from the Volga course on the southeast. Molda, Kutum, Tserav, Kaizen. It caused an abundance of the bridges thrown through the rivers and Eriki that makes related the city with street. Petersburg, as well as the fact that there was Piet I in 1722 who put a lot of effort into development of Astrakhan as the Volga-Caspian port. The central part historically developed kernel represents the island washed by waters of Volga, Kutuma, Tsareva and Erika Kosip. On the highest hill the Astrakhan Kremlin. 1580-1620. The architect Dorofei Myakishev, builders Mikhail Velyaminov, Dai-Gubasti. Going down on the left coast of Volga almost to the embankment, with white stone walls, 4 deefs and 3 travel towers. Below the Kremlin the Posit. The White City. With their streets stretched along the hill and Sequence was located earlier. Planning remained. In 1769 the master plan of Astrakhan was approved. Architect A. 5. Kvasav. By which the city received regular planning with the square Platzperednoye Square which is built upon perimeter with buildings in style of classicism. The House of the Governor-General. The 1798 years. The lawn. Now Despot. Arcade, the Moscow Trading House. 1790. The central part of the city is built upon model projects, embankments with farmstead complexes and mansions are connected to other parts of the city. Numerous bridges. In the center of the former White City farmsteads of East merchants, mosques, the Roman Catholic temple of the Dormition of the Theotokos remained. 1762-1778. The Astrakhan Catholic Church was the third in time of the basis the Catholic temple in Russia. After St. Petersburg and Moscow. In the 19th century the city was exposed to reconstruction, luxurious mansions, banks, trade institutions in modernist style were built. Church of the Nativity of the Blessed Virgin. It is demolished in 1934, on her place in 1952 the house is constructed. In the territory of Astrakhan are located the building of the former Azov and Don Bank, and nowadays the building of GU of the Bank of Russia across the Astrakhan region, 1910, the architect Fyodor Ivanovich Lidval. Yubin's mansion, end of the 19th century. Krasnaya embankment. Tent tower of a fencing of Holy Transfiguration Monastery. The beginning of the 18th century. With inserts from polychromy tiles. Demidovsky farmstead. 17th-18th century. Church of Street. John Chrysostom. 1763. On a Chetverica, with a rich sculptural decor. It is reconstructed in the 19th centuries. House of the Astrakhan Cossack Army, 1906. Architect 5. B. Valkovsky. October Movie Theatre with a unique winter garden tree nursery. At present it is closed on restoration. Indian Trade Farmstead. Armenian Farmstead. Persian Farmstead. Wooden houses in the Russian or Roptovsky style. Regional Scientific Library of N.K. Kropskaya. The Swan Lake in the downtown. Assumption Cathedral. Prekostenski Cathedral Bell Tower. Street. Nicholas Gateway Church. Pokrovsky Cathedral. Ionos Ladistovsky Temple. Street. Jean the Baptist Monastery. Kazanskaya Church. Cathedral of the Prince Vladimir equal to the Apostles, 1895-1904. In Soviet period in the building the bus station was located. In 1999 the temple is transferred to Orthodox Church. Street. Jean the Baptist Church. Church of the Transfiguration. Old Belief Church of the Intercession. Former Ristorostovensky Church. Street. Nicholas Church on the Lake. Hair. Church of Our Lady of Kazan in the village of Ilyinka. Cherkinsky Monastery. Annunciation Monastery. Vdensky Temple. Dukosashinsky Church. Peter and Paul Church. Church of the Nativity of the Blessed Virgin. Christ Church of Christ Redeemer. Street. Alexander Nevsky's Church. The Temple for the Sake of the Saint Great Martyr and the Healer Panaliman at Tanaka. Trinity Monastery. Sculpture Sacred Cross. Astrakhan Television Tower. Triumphal Arch in honor of the 300th anniversary of the Astrakhan province. White Mosque. Black Mosque. Red Mosque. Green Mosque. The Persian Mosque. Demands reconstruction. Nodai Mosque. In Astrakhan the following sports clubs are based. Football Club Volber. It is founded in 1960. The participant of the majority of seasons of superiority of Football National League. The first division. In the 21st century. And in the best goalkeeper of the world of 1988, the native of the city of Astrakhan, Reinat Desaev, started the career. In the third echelon of the Russian professional soccer in the 1990s I played FE Astrakhan. Is disbanded. In the 21st century FE Astrakhan. Former shipbuilder. Handball Club Dynamo. 1978. The champion of the USSR of 1990, the repeated prize winner of national superiority, its invariable participant since the 1988 years. Women's Handball Club Astrakhan. 1993. The champion of Russia of 2016. Its invariable participant since 1998. Water Polo Club Dynamo, bronze prize winner of the Championship of Russia of 2015. The Astrakhan handball is more than other sports, became history of the Astrakhan and Russian sport, delegated a great number of players, winners and prize winners of the international tournaments to the national team. Except the mentioned sports, participation of residents of Astrakhan in competitions in rowing and rhythmic gymnastics has good traditions. Healthcare. Alexander Marinsky Regional Clinical Hospital, Tatishchev Street. 2. Astrakhan Clinical Hospital, Maxim Gorky Street. 1214. City Clinical Hospital No. 2 of Brothers of Kubany Street. Cuban 1. City Clinical Hospital No. 3 of SM. Kirev-Habinskaya Street. 2. Regional Infectious Diseases Clinical Hospital of AM. Michiji Nakalovsy Show Street. 7. Regional Clinical Lunatic Asylum, Nakalovsy Highway Street. 15. Russian Railway Medicine, Sanyatsena Street. 62. Volga District Hospital, Alexandrov Street. 9A. Children's Hospitals. Children's Consultation, Astrakhan Clinical Hospital, Kapitanskaya Street. 22. Regional Children's Clinical Hospital of NN. Silishchiva Medic Street. 6. Structural Division No. 1. Regional Children's Clinical Hospital of NN. Silishchiva Tatishchev Street. 2. Structural Division No. 2. Regional Children's Clinical Hospital of NN. Silishchiva N. Ostrovskogo Street. 119. Structural Division No. 3. Regional Children's Clinical Hospital of NN. Silishchiva Ichtiologicheskaya Street. 1. Centers and Clinics. Regional Medical and Sports Clinic, Tatishchev Street. 56B, 42A. Regional Cardiological Clinic, Admiral Nakhimov Street. 133. Regional Skin and Venereologic Clinic, Maria Maxikova Street. 6. Regional Clinical and Antitubercular Clinic Nakalovsy Highway Street. 7U. Regional Narcological Clinic Admiral Nakimev Street. 70B. Regional Oncological Clinic B. Alakiva Street. 57. Federal Center of Cardiovascular Surgery Pokrovskaya Rozhcha Street. 4. Astrakhan Branch Federal State Budgetary Institution National Medical Research Center of Otorinorinolaryngology Faba of Russia Tatishchev Street. K. Fos Center Gigienia Epidemiology v Astrakhanskaya Oblasti, Kirov Street. 89A. Also far. Write comments. Read comments. Interesting people will tell interesting stories. All of good mood and good luck.